Hi, welcome to PN Recap Mystery. Today we explain the last duel movie.
In the starting movie shows after serving within the Carolingian War, Jean de Carouges and his friend, Squire Jacques Legris swear loyalty to Count Pierre d'Alençon, who has been named Jean ruler by his cousin, King Charles VI. Jacques later informs Jean that Pierre has ordered his new vassals to pay war levies, agreeing to raise leniency on Jean's behalf once de Carouges explains he lacks the funds. To restore his finances, Jean marries Marguerite de Thibouville, receiving an outsized dowry and therefore the rights to several valuable estates. Pierre, however, has already gifted one piece of land to Jacques. Once Jean sues for the land to run to him, King Charles dismisses the suit. Pierre retaliates by appointing Jacques to the captainship of a fort that Jean family had control for generations. A military operation in Scotland leaves Jean knighted for bravery however bankrupt. Once he comes home from a visit to Paris, Marguerite tells him that Jacques raped her whereas she was home alone. Knowing that Pierre protects Jacques, Jean resolves to challenge him to a duel to the death, an invitation that Charles VI grants. Jacques wins Pierre's trust by victimization his data of accounting to arrange the count finances, earning him an edge at court. Upon meeting Marguerite, Jacques falls in love together with her and becomes convinced that she loves him once she shows him kindness. While Jean is away, his mother takes the servants to assist her with errands, feed Marguerite alone. Jacques has his servant play the door, claiming his horse has thrown a shoe. She permits the person in, however he's followed quickly by Jacques, who sincerely declares his love for Marguerite. She insists she is married and orders them to leave. Instead, Jacques follows Marguerite as she removes her shoes, backs upstairs, and enters her bedchamber, wherever she tries to fight him off but he holds her down whereas he rapes her. Before leaving, he advises her to not tell her husband. Consulting a priest, Jacques seeks absolution for the crime of adultery. Sometime later, Pierre informs Jacques that Jean is inculpated of him of raping Marguerite, that he denies, stating that though she created the customary protest, it absolutely was not against her will. Despite the count arranged to exert his authority, declaring Jacques innocent, Jean appeals his case on to King Charles and requests a duel to the death. Jacques accepts Jean's challenge. Marguerite and Jean's wedding becomes strained by her failure to become pregnant. When meeting Jacques, Marguerite informs her friends she showed him kindness solely to undertake and win court favor. Once Jean leaves for Scotland, he orders her to not leave the castle or let anyone inside. Jean's mother takes all the servants together with her on a trip despite Jean's order. Jacques shows up with a servant who tricks Marguerite into letting them enter. Jacques haughtily declares his love for Marguerite. He forces his way into their bedchamber wherever he violently rapes Marguerite. Once Marguerite's husband returns, she tells him what happened. When violently questioning whether or not she is telling the truth, Jean becomes convinced that Jacques raped Marguerite to insult him specifically, and insists that Marguerite at once get it on with him in order that Jacques won't be the last man that knew her. Marguerite's friends abandon her, believing her to be lying to hide up an affair because of her having antecedently remarked on Jacques' handsomeness, whereas Jean's mother later insists Marguerite drop her accusations, and abide any consequences, thus her son may well be spared court judgment, citing a previous occasion in her youth once she herself was raped. At Jacques' trial 6 months later, a now pregnant Marguerite remains resolute that she is telling the truth, whereas the court implies that Jacques is the father of her child. Charles VI grants Jean's request for a duel to the death. Marguerite confronts Jean for not telling her she would be burned alive if he failed. Marguerite offers birth to her son days before the duel is ready to require place. The duel begins with Jean and Jacques jousting till each men lose their mounts and fight hand to hand. Jean is injured however eventually manages to pin down Jacques. He demands that Jacques confess or face damnation, but Jacques claims his innocence. Genuinely basic cognitive process he failed to rape her. Jean kills him. Jean basks within the glory of his success whereas Marguerite follows quietly behind. What do you think about this movie? Tell us in comment section. If you like then click the like button and subscribe the channel.